I used to be a Mormon, and I am talking about my experiences going through the secret Mormon temple ceremonies, and I am on part 3. So if you haven't seen the previous parts, this might be a weird place to jump in. If you want to understand more about why I'm talking about this, please refer to the previous parts. And again, if you are a Mormon and seeing this would upset or offend you in any way, please don't watch. Scroll past, block me, save yourself the frustration of seeing more videos like this come up on your For You page because you interacted with it and now the algorithm thinks you want more. In part 1, we talked about the temple initiatory, and in part 2, we got about halfway through the endowment ceremony. We left off talking about the second token of the Aaronic priesthood and the accompanying name, sign, and penalty for that. And we talked about putting on the robes of the Holy Melchizedek priesthood. At this point in the ceremony, the participants would switch the robes from their left shoulder to the right shoulder to get ready for the ordinances of the Melchizedek priesthood. On a personal note, like I mentioned in the last video, the clothing changes and the shifting around of things was always confusing to me. And putting on the slippers and taking them off and putting on the apron and taking it off and switching from the left shoulder to the right shoulder, all of that stuff was very distracting. I was expecting to have this incredible spiritual experience and learn something really almost magical. And instead, we were putting on really weird looking clothes. That's full honesty. They are very weird looking. We were learning secret handshakes to get into heaven. And weirdly enough, I had spent my whole life being warned against secret combinations, and this felt like that. Luckily, like I said, the penalties were removed before I went through the temple. That part would have really scared me, but I didn't have to do that. At this point in the ceremony, we are moving to the Terrestrial kingdom. Depending on the temple, participants are either moved to a new, brighter room or additional lights are turned on in the same room. I actually don't even remember this happening. I know we definitely stayed in the same room, so they might have turned the lights up, but to be fair, I was kind of spiraling at this point. You are given the law of chastity. You covenant to only have sexual relations with whom you are legally wedded according to God's law. And you learn the first token of the Melchizedek priesthood, the sign of the nail. Here is the token. The officiator pinches the palm. The name of this token is the Son, S-O-N, as in Jesus Christ. And the sign is the left hand in front of you in cupping shape and the right hand brought forward. And the penalty is to place the right hand on the left hip and quickly draw it across the body and say, "My body may be cut asunder and all my bowels gush out." Yes, the penalties were rather graphic. Next, you are given the law of consecration. You covenant to consecrate yourselves, time, talents, and everything the Lord has blessed you or with which he may bless you to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I don't like that, because it's not even like you are consecrating everything you have and everything you are to God. It's to the corporation of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And then you would learn the second token of the Melchizedek priesthood, the patriarchal grip or sure sign of the nail. Here is the token. It's basically a handshake where you both poke the inside of the other person's wrist with your index finger. On a personal note, it is the funnest handshake. The name of this token is very long. I have talked about it before because I think it sounds like witchcraft. The name of this token is health in the navel, marrow in the bones, strength in the loins and in the sinews, power in the priesthood be upon me and upon my posterity through all generations of time and throughout all eternity. I guess it's perfect that I'm making these videos in October, because does that not sound like some sort of spooky enchantment? To me, none of that sounded anything like the church I was raised in. The sign for this token is made by raising both hands in the air above your head and while lowering them, saying, "O God, hear the words of my mouth." Repeated 3 times. "O God, hear the words of my mouth. O God, hear the words of my mouth." At this point, when I went through my first endowment ceremony, this is where I started having the thought, it feels like I'm in a cult. The clothing, the handshakes, the vows of secrecy was all very off-putting. But when we got to the point where everybody was chanting in a monotone voice, "Oh God, hear the words of my mouth," I was scared. It scared me. I wish at this point that I had listened to my intuition and after leaving the temple had started doing more research, but I didn't. I stayed in the church for years after that. But the temple ceremony is not over yet. In the next part, we'll talk about the prayer circle and the true order of prayer, which was another thing that made me very uncomfortable. If you're a former Mormon, let me know if you had some of the same reactions that I did, and come back for the next part.